All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Monday, July 15th, 2024, the first day of the GOP convention in Milwaukee. And today it was announced at the convention that Trump has picked his vice president, and it is J.D. Vance, the first term senator from Ohio. Kamala was once a one term senator that took the White House. So was Barack Obama. And of course, both of them are connected to Biden. But if you've been following the stories, they're saying this is the youngest vice president pick since Theodore Roosevelt. And Theodore Roosevelt had an assassination attempt on his life in Milwaukee, where the GOP convention is. And Theodore Roosevelt did become president after McKinley was assassinated, becoming the nation's 26th president. McKinley was 25. So, again, we've been talking about this thing with McKinley, who was shot in Buffalo, with all kinds of parallels to JFK that happened years later. And anyhow, now here we are, and realize this man, J.D. Vance, is about to turn 40 years old on August 2nd. We just had the assassination scare in Butler up on the 40th parallel north, which is being compared to Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt in 81. Number 40, who was reelected 40 years ago in 1984. You might have saw what Butler did in baseball yesterday, Sunday, in the Battle of Philadelphia, if you will. The Athletics, originally from Philly, smashed the Phillies 18-3. And who in the world had the Athletics to win the series versus the Phillies besides the Gematria community? We had all day. Philadelphia 61, Athletics 34. Phillies pick up the 34th loss of the year. The original Philly team, the Athletics, stays on 61 losses when the Phillies came into that series with 61 wins. But yeah, Kamala speaking in Philly the day of the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, near the Steelers. Joe Biden's home state, Pennsylvania, like we're always talking about, scripted politics, scripted sports, scripted together through the same numbers. And then you got, again, Butler, who plays for the Athletics, just hitting 3 home runs. He went from 6 home runs for the year to 9, hitting 3 more, 6-3. Anyway, we'll come back to all that, but I want to get deep on more on J.D. Vance and also the assassination of or the assassination attempt on Teddy Roosevelt in Milwaukee by the name of the assassin and where he's from. The assassin who shot Teddy Roosevelt in Milwaukee, he was from Bavaria, Germany, where the Illuminati was founded. Again, we're going to bring this all together and just how perfect it is and what people need to wake up to. The same thing we've been educating about for a decade. I haven't had to change my message or my tune. We've been calling the future before it happens, and we're showing how the Illuminati is a real thing. Traces back through the Jesuit order. And again, you got guys like Donald Trump, very much part of this Jesuit fraternity, having gone to Fordham, did Trump. And then you got now J.D. Vance, who went to Yale, the secret society Ivy League school where Skull and Bones is. And keep in mind, if they become the ticket and win the election, J.D. Vance will turn 41 his first year in office. And of course, there's 41 secret societies at Yale. Look it up. It's not some conspiracy theory. There's 41 secret societies there. The most famous of which is Skull and Bones, which equals 41 in Gematria. Like the 41st president, George Herbert Walker Bush, was in Skull and Bones. Yale equals 43, like how he was the 43rd vice president and his son was the 43rd president. And it came down to Florida, where his brother was the 43rd governor when the second Bush got elected. Again, it's always been numbers, gematria, ritual, tributes to history, and everyone's sleeping on it. But we're going to really bring it together here. So we're going to go through more about J.D. Vance, the assassinations of Teddy Roosevelt and McKinley, the assassin in Milwaukee who shot Roosevelt. We're going to look at Butler, the town of Butler, and who it's named after and why it matters that it's in its 107th year of existence. A lot of you already got that piece if you've been watching the streams up to date. But we're going to tie it all together and then also look at what they did in baseball before the All-Star game today, or the All-Star game's actually tomorrow, but the home run derby's today. It's in the stadium near where JFK was shot, and the favorite to win it's Gunnar Henderson. if you missed the Astros and Rangers game, both teams ended up on 46 in the wins and losses column, like JFK killed at age 46 near where that game is. Remember last year at the All-Star game in Seattle, I was out there educating the fans about ritual murder and sacrifice, and how rigged the game was. We got a lot of awesome responses from people. But last year, again, Vlad Guerrero Jr. wins the home run derby like his father did. The first father-son duo ever in MLB history to win the home run derbies. And where did he do it? In Seattle, where the last father-son tandem was in pro sports, the Griffies. And like we said then, we said LeBron had just spoken a little before that saying how he really desires to play with his son in pro sports. And now here we are in LeBron and the Lakers drafting Bronny by the numbers with the 55th pick of the draft when King James is 55. But never forget when LeBron won it for the Cavs on the real King James's birthday, and King James's son was King Charles, and those who fought for King Charles, they were called Cavaliers. Again, just everyone missing the historical jokes, always going on by the numbers. But, it was 2016 in Cleveland's the 216 area code, and the last game in Cleveland was game 6 when 6 to the third power is 216. But again, there were 216 points in that game. And then LeBron won the finals, and then Trump had his convention there and then took office by the numbers. And now he's trying to become the nation's first Grover Cleveland, since Grover Cleveland, meaning a split-term president. Anyway, like we've been documenting all this time, we've been here all these years showing how it is nothing but scripted tributes in numbers, where numbers mean so much. Remember, DC's the Masonic city. It's etched on the Masonic temple, all is number, the Pythagoras quote. And it's really been the same number rituals over and over from the beginning once you learn to recognize them. But look at this. J.D. Vance, let's go through all of it. He's about to turn 40 years old on August 2nd, born in 1984, the year that Reagan won re-election. And realize right now in the NFL, people are mourning because of the death of Jacoby Jones at age 40 out of nowhere, who's from New Orleans, where the Super Bowl will be on the 40th day of the year. He wore 12. He's dead right before the season that ends again with the Super Bowl in New Orleans, 12 years after the last one there, which was the Harbaugh Bowl, Ravens over 49ers, and he was on that Ravens team. And the other team he played for was the Texans, who have the connection with the Chiefs, who used to be the Dallas Texans, where JFK was shot. Again, they moved to Kansas City in 63, the year he was shot. We all know. Anyway, coming back to this today. Butler, Pennsylvania, one more time on the 40th parallel north. Donald Trump runs on mega like Reagan, who was the 40th president, who was also an actor in Hollywood. This shooting 40 years after 1984, when he won re-election, J.D. Vance about to turn 40. His name in Gematria, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers to the English language. Alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with numerology. In these base ciphers, J.D. Vance, 40, and the initials J.D. alone, just with the alphabetic order in reverse, 40. Remember, United States has the gematria of 40 as well, just like U.S. has the gematria of 40. We've always talked about how interesting this is. And if you spell out 40 as a word, it equals 84, like United States of America, like the Jesuit order, like the Catholic Church, like Jesuit alone, on and on and on. But notice United States is also 157, and think about today, it's 15/7. Remember, we just had the shooting 157 days from the Pope's birthday, and the shooter's name, Thomas Crooks, equals 157. Now you have this convention in Milwaukee. 157 is the 37th prime number. Milwaukee equals 37 like shooting, where again, Theodore Roosevelt was shot. He was shot October 14th, 1912. But Theodore Roosevelt, the youngest vice president ever, and J.D. Vance would become the youngest since if he becomes vice president. Again, this is in Milwaukee where this is announced, where Teddy Roosevelt was shot. Notice how Vance, that surname, has gematria 45 and 18. He's nominated 18 days before his upcoming birthday. Think of the Jesuits, their logo, IHS, 45 and 18. Again, the Jesuits gave us the calendar, the language. Skull and Bones at Yale, again, they get their symbolism from the Templars and the Illuminati. And the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, and the Jesuit logo has the letters IHS and the Templar cross. And again, Templars and Jesuits, military orders of the Catholic Church. The Jesuits still exist. People say the Templars are gone. There is a modern day order of Templars related to Freemasonry. It's like, but it's not the ancient. It's not supposed to be the same as the ancient um, Crusader era Templars. You know, the Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark. By the way, before I just went live, Fox News was on the campus of Marquette talking about this history there, about something that was moved from France to where Marquette is in the 1960s. I got to go back and look at. I'm going to die if it was the year in the time of JFK. But they said like it has to do with Joan of Arc. I just heard that, so I haven't had a chance to research it. It was the last thing I heard before I started my own stream. Anyhow, notice the JD Vance, his name, James David Vance equals 133. Now, if you missed my video from the day before the Trump shooting, we were talking about the Eminem Slim Shady, Death of Slim Shady album coming out with this big single, Houdini. And if you missed that video, I was showing it wasn't an accident that it synced up with Eminem's 52nd birthday. That's the age Houdini died at. It's a special number, 52. But I was also pointing out how it was 133 days before the JFK assassination and what these numbers had to do with the presidency, 133 and 52, and why it came out the day before the kill date, which was July 13th. And we all know what happened, a lot of celebrity deaths and supposedly the attempt on Trump. But isn't it funny that this JD Vance has these same numbers in his name? And we've been talking about this since 2015, you guys. When Trump first took the stage at the first GOP debate hosted on Fox, they had up the stat the first time he spoke. Forbes says Trump's the 133rd richest man in the nation. Again, president, White House, government, all words with gematria of 133. And, you know, Fox News made a huge deal in 2016 when they had his 133rd appearance. They were hyping it all day. And I thought, man, that's weird because I was just talking about this, you know, with the debate and now this, because we were speculating back then that Trump would be the next president because he's so polarizing. It was a love-hate relationship. And that's really what they're trying to do in this nation is just get us stirred up and pitted against each other more and more. I've been talking about this the whole time I've been here. And now look at it, right? But notice that when Fox did that, it was less than a month later where I put out that video in February 2016 explaining why he would surely be the GOP nominee and likely the next president because of how polarizing he was. And then if you followed me all throughout that year, around the time he was doing like the retard beat on his chest thing from the 90s that elementary school kids did, I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong about Trump. Maybe this is just to get somebody that everyone hates in there, Hillary. So I kind of was starting to doubt Trump in 2016, but I had it dead on at the beginning of the year about all the rituals and this 133 thing. And there were he had all the 58 things going on, but yeah, the point is, if you never seen what I said, I was, you know, a long time ago, I looked like a little kid back then, but yeah, it's all played out exactly like this. And yeah, one more time, the 133, again, if you're new here, we've always talked about how they use the Bible like a playbook. Revelation 13:3 with this 133 sequence. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. Again, it's not exactly that. It's that he nearly escaped a fatal wound to his head and it nicked his ear. But you can see the parallel here. And we're going to get to the assassin of Roosevelt who died at 47. But of course, Trump's running on Agenda 47. And we've always talked about the million rituals of Trump with 47 going back to 2015. But Beast, Ohio, and Trump 47. He had his GOP convention there in 2016 where Cleveland is. Again, the last split-term president. So think about that too with this VP pick. Remember, Cleveland equals 48 like Donald Trump. The town of Butler where the shooting just happened, the town is named after a man who died at age 48. If Biden does not finish his term, Kamala will become number 47. Trump could potentially become number 48. 47 or 48 could make sense with Trump. Again, if you're new here, 47 is a number of authority. It's a huge number in DC rituals. You all remember this in 2020. Trump's done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. President, White House, government authority, Republican, Whig, Democrat, DC, Trump. And don't forget Lincoln, connected to the Civil War. He said 40 in 7 years ago. And he's the one credited with taking the Whig party to the Republican Party. But there's so much 47. Again, it's a number we talk about all the time. Trump's done his social media thing. what's it called? Truth Social, 47. He took a 47-day break once from posting on just so many things with Trump and social media and beyond. Being in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel in the night of the 2016 election, you know, beating Hillary, born in 47. Freemasonry studies the 47th problem of Euclid. Freemasonry is only for men. Freemasonry equals 58 like secret society. Trump won the 58th election after announcing from the 58-story Trump Tower. And then Hillary wrote the book, What Happened, about why she lost, and that title equal 58. But anyhow, this JD Vance guy, his gematria, 59, 23, 130, 40. He is called as the nominee, or he's made the VP pick for the Trump ticket. So essentially, he's the VP nominee. But this comes 130 days before the anniversary of JFK being shot, November 20th. And 130 is an interesting number because Washington equals 130. So does human sacrifice. A lot of the stats, if you've been paying attention to the news, you've seen variations of the shooter was 130 yards away. A lot of people publish that exact number, 130 yards. Others have published 150. Remember, Illuminati's 150. Alec Baldwin smoked the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Ukraine-Russia at 1:50 p.m. local time. Illuminati's got that gematria, 150. The sun's 150 million kilometers away on average. Again, it's a sun cult that's doing this. But again, all the 40 stuff, Butler on the 40th parallel, Reagan 40 years ago after being shot in 81, wins re-election. But the 130 days to Kennedy. Kennedy was shot November 22nd, which is the day leaving 39 days left in the year. Okay? JD Vance is still 39. He's at the tail end of being 39. All the parallels to these assassinations. Again, my book in 2017, I have a book out there from 2017, Letters and Numbers. There's a long chapter on all the presidential assassinations and attempts, and the point I make in the chapter is all of these things are connected through the same numbers that point to the same secret societies, and they all pay tribute to each other, and they are in tributes to history as well as what's to come. And we've been talking about this forever with Trump and all these assassination riddles and all the connections to George Wallace. Now everything we've been talking about for 8 years is just undeniable. Again, George Wallace equals 60 like Donald Trump, and he shot a span of 60 days from the anniversary of George Wallace getting shot. And somebody had the absolutely billion-dollar observation that went beyond what I just said about George Wallace's anniversary being shot as the anniversary of Trump's Operation Warp Speed, which are both on the same day, May 15th. Somebody noticed that from the day that Trump declared Operation Warp Speed to this assassination was a total span of 1,521 days. And Ignatius of Loyola was shot on Cannonball Day in the year 1521. And again, Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, it was that moment where he was shot on Cannonball Day that changed his life and led to him creating the Jesuits. But remember, Eileen Cannon wanted Trump in court on Cannonball Day, and Billy Cannon died the other year on Cannonball Day. Just always recurring jokes with this date. They started the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year, May 20th, 2021, while Trump was in office. Remember, his ex-wife died exactly 60 weeks into the first Jesuit Ignatian year. The same day he stated that he would run in the 60th presidential election. Again, Donald Trump 60, like George Wallace. Like JFK elected in 1960. He beat Nixon. Nixon wins in 72, the year George Wallace is shot. The year Joe Biden becomes senator-elect, just the way all this fits together. But yeah, again, because of what we have figured out and been exposing and laying out for a long time, it should be undeniable to everyone who is behind these scripted events, this political theater, and shame on all the people who laugh at my work and make fun of it and say it's not the Jesuits and then just refer to they. They'd rather go to they, or it's Israel, it's Zionists. It's like, again, Zion equals 44 like Israel, like Netanyahu, like Theodore Herzl dead at 44, 44 years before Israel was established in a massive Catholic Jesuit ritual on May 14th, 1948. Again, 14/5, like the 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. You go on forever. Catholic has that gematria, 145. Speaking of the Old Testament, in Protestant books, there's 39 books in the Protestant Old Testaments, and Masonry, which has the gematria 39, like federal, like secrecy. Masonry is based in the secrets of the Old Testament, like Genesis 3:2:2, mentioning the tree of life, the physical model for Kabbalah, which has 3 pillars and 22 paths, and there is a good side and an evil side, just like Genesis 3:2:2 mentions. Genesis has that Gematria 39 as well. But yeah, look at Teddy Roosevelt, you guys. Again, they're saying that J.D. Vance is the youngest VP nominee since Teddy Roosevelt, who was shot in Milwaukee, where this happened today. We've been on this the last couple days, but now it's making more sense. I should have looked into J.D. Vance. I didn't do any research on the VP pick, but as soon as I heard him announce it, one of the first things I heard him say was the comparison to Roosevelt. I said, oh my God, man. But notice Teddy Roosevelt, 167, the 39th prime. And remember, Teddy Roosevelt's Mr. New York. Everything in New York is 39. There's 4 base ciphers of the English language. NY with the alphabetic order is 14 plus 25, 39. New York with the alphabetic order and numerology applied equals 39. NYC for the city with the reverse alphabetic order equals 39. New York, comma, NY for the city like you'd write on an envelope with the reverse alphabetic order and numerology equals 39. The United Nations in New York's 39 floors tall. The World's Fair there in 1939. The Yankees won it that year. 1 million rituals with New York in 39 that we've documented so many times. It's just, but yeah, Teddy Roosevelt's Mr. New York. New York equals 33 when you run it the other way, like Teddy Roosevelt was the 33rd governor of New York. Of course, you have Reagan, the 33rd governor of California, also with parallels to what happened. Shot in 81. This happens while Biden's 81 after Joe Biden says you got to put Trump on the bullseye. Well, we're going to look at how perfect that was. But yeah, John Fleming Schrank from Bavaria is who shot Roosevelt. Again in Milwaukee. And his birthday, 3/5. I mean, that should remind you of how 3 of the first 5 presidents died on the nation's birthday, like JFK killed on I-35 is number 35. Again, big Catholic number. We'll get to the September 15th date of death. There's a lot to say about that as well. Here's all those New York 39s. This man who was picked, he has this hit book that was made into a movie apparently in 2020. I didn't realize that about this first-term senator, that he also has a hit book, Hillbilly Elegy, that was made into a movie in 2020 by Hollywood. But he has this line about the other Roosevelt and crooks in his book. They show this excerpt in his book, and I thought, that's funny. The other Roosevelt and crooks in light of the shooter. We talked about how this shooting fits in with George Wallace, who died on the same day as Tupac, whose birth surname was Crooks. Again, so many layers to all this stuff. But again, you can see what gang's been pulling all the strings. We talked about this a million times with all the big hip-hop unsolved deaths. You can see the Jesuit Catholic fingerprints all over all of it. And don't forget that Tupac album with him on the cross that came out after his death, that released on November 5th, the day of the election this year. And that's Guy Fawkes Day. That's the day the Jesuits tried to blow up British Parliament in history, that their most infamous political act, the Jesuits. Remember the 5th of November, the date of the election this year. Don't forget how they did Bill Walton dirty the day the Celtics advanced to the finals. His birthday would have been the day of the election, would have turned 72, like how Joe Biden became senator-elect in 72. Joe Biden's Secret Service named Celtics. Celtics came into that series with 46 wins versus the Mavs all time. All right, yeah. So this J.D. Vance, again, these are a lot of the key things with him right now. And I mean, if history is going to repeat itself, are they telling us that this guy's going to become another young president like Teddy Roosevelt? He's got the right numbers and name. It remains to see if Trump gets reelected and becomes the nation's next Grover Cleveland. Like I've been saying, that's what we've been expecting for a long time, since Biden became number 46, exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, as we called a year in advance. But I've been saying this whole time, the only way I could really see it not being Trump again is if they want to sneak in their favorite demon, Gavin Newsom, or give us a Michelle Obama ticket. So anyway, we'll cross those bridges when they come up, and they might come up sooner than later. But here, let's go over more of this. So again, Teddy Roosevelt. It matters that he was shot October 14th, 1912. Again, that's the day leaving 78 days left in the year. 78. We've been talking about for so long how it matters so much that Trump will be 78 at the time of this election, because he's always been associated with tarot cards, where there's 78 in the deck and the top cards are tarot cards. The lesser arcana in the tarot deck there's 56 of them, like November 5th leaves 56 days left in the year. Again, in Gematria, tarot cards is 119. The winner of this presidency takes office with the 119th Congress, going with the presidential election being called for him in 2016 on November 9th, the other 119 date. Again, while he had 248 electoral votes, and now the country's 248 years old, and President Donald Trump's 248, and he had that mean mug shot on 24/8 last year in Atlanta, and then just the big 248 ritual in the Manhattan Criminal Court that was going on while the Illuminati turned 248 years old, the day they gave him a break to campaign. But yes, 78 days left in the year. Trump's 78 years old. Butler in Gematria, 78, like Kennedy, like Jesuit, like the shooting, 78 days after Melania's birthday. And for the kid who called in yesterday and said he had that video and was going to upload it, again, let's not lie to people. I feel like you do that kind of stuff a lot. He called in and asked me to promote his channel because he was going to upload the video, and then he uploads a different video that doesn't have what he said he had. Again, that's not how you build credibility with anyone, and that's why your channel hasn't done as well as others. You got to follow through with what you promise. Again, I wonder about some of these people who call in all the time. How can you call in and claim you're going to do something and then do something different? Not good and not cool. But yes, there is a video out there. What he claimed he had, I've seen it in the past, and this is the reason he's bringing it up. Years ago, I showed this video. The problem is my channel's been deleted a million times, so I've lost a lot of stuff. There is an old video of Melania Trump before she's Melania Trump, before they're married, from the 90s, of her being part of a reenactment of the Kennedy assassination, JFK. And again, they said Melania was the first to wear baby blue at Inauguration Day since Jackie Kennedy, and it was that 56-year span, like this year's 56 years since RFK was assassinated, who has the same birthday as Biden. But 78, the name Kennedy equals 78. The 78th NBA Finals were all about this. Boston, where Kennedy was mayor, over Dallas, where he died. Boston Celtics has the Gematria 78 like Kennedy. Again, only team in the whole NBA whose full name equals 78. They win the 78th NBA season. Game one of those playoffs, the 78th playoff game of the year. Game one was the Celtics' 78th birthday. They had to fudge game four, the spacing, so it'd be on Trump's 78th birthday. Again, that was the only game Dallas won with their star player from Slovenia, where Melania's from. Again, their child, Barron Trump, has dual citizenship in both countries. The finals began 78 days after his 18th birthday as the Celtics get the 18th championship. Again, there's a lot more to say about all that, but remember, Jerry West also died right after the Celtics won their 78th. Right after the Celtics won their 78th game of the year, Jerry West died at 86. And in 86, the first year they used the term finals, Boston beat the other Texas team, Houston. And again, Jerry West was 1-8 in championships, like 18. His full name, Jerry Allen West, 171, the 18th triangular number. Speaking of that, we talked about how Vance equals 18, picked 18 days before his upcoming birthday. The Trump shooting was on the day leaving 171 days left in the year. So something to that as well. IHS, the Jesuit acronyms, 18. Remember, the shooter's name, 266, Jesus Hominum Salvator, 266. There is something to the shooting being 266 days from Netanyahu's birthday, no doubt about it. Big death headlines in Israel that day, the same day that Dr. Ruth died, who was in the war in Israel in 47, who stood 4 foot 7 inches tall. Then the ritual of Trump, Mr. Agenda 47. We'll get to how, again, the assassin of Theodore Roosevelt died at 47 on a fitting date. But okay, look at this. Teddy Roosevelt. Look at what day he died. January 6th, right? January 6th is the day Teddy Roosevelt died. He died at age 60. Again, we got the 60th presidential election upcoming. 1960, Kennedy elected, assassinated. 1860, Lincoln elected, assassinated. The Jesuits, again, the first 10 years with the Roman Catholic Church, an order of 60 members. The word order equals 60. Donald Trump, again, 60. The day that January 6th happened, 2021, that was the 102nd death anniversary of Teddy Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt Jr., 102. That is the number of the Jesuits in Art of War. Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits, which began on the 102nd day of the year. Remember, Art of War was published by the Jesuit priest Father Amiot of Paris, France, in 1772. 4 years before this nation was created, that's been at war ever since. I mean, did you guys hear Joe Biden's little short thing yesterday about the Trump shooting? How the U.S. isn't a nation of violence? I mean, talk about George Orwell, right? It's like, who's listening to this? But that's the way it always is in America. It's always George Orwell. It's always Orwellian. The U.S. isn't a nation of violence. Let's revisit that statement. Did it not begin out of a genocide? Has it not been at war with something almost every single year of its existence? I mean, we just turned 248, and what is it? It's like 20-some years that we haven't been at war in those 248 years with some nation. America doesn't do violence, and we are violence. Remember, there's that song out there, Gematria, the killing name, where the chorus is America is a killing name. The United States of America literally has the same numerical value as death. Get in this code. The United States of America does also have the Gematria 102, like Art of War. Again, it's all over Pearl Harbor. It's all over the American Civil War, which Lincoln blamed on the Jesuits. It's all over the simulation with bin Laden's face from our federal government called Operation Amalgam Virgo, June 1st, 2001, where the federal government simulated Al-Qaeda would attack the U.S. with cruise missiles exactly 102 days before 9/11. And again, I'll tell you what, planes aren't known for having massive explosions like bombs and missiles are. Maybe you should go back and look at what they gave us for the Pentagon and the World Trade Centers and ask yourself, are you sure those were planes? Because they did simulate 102 days earlier that we were going to be attacked with targets just like that by cruise missiles. William McKinley, again, was the 25th president, assassinated in Buffalo, New York. New York's got the 78 connection. But he was the 25th. Remember, Trump equals 25, Biden equals 25, death 25. McKinley died on 14/9, like JFK, born on the 149th day of the year, which is the 35th prime. It's like when he became number 35, he beat Nixon 305 days after Nixon's birthday, and then eventually died on I-35, going with 3 of the first 5 presidents dying on the nation's birthday, 7/4. There's a lot more to all of this, but again, I just want you to see how all of this fits together. And again, my book from 2017, Letters and Numbers by Zachary K. Hubbard. There's a chapter in there about, again, presidential assassinations and how they all connect through the same numbers. The biggest number I hit in all of them is 44, just like how the JFK, or I mean, yeah, well, JFK was the 44th term president, but the Trump assassination that just happened on the 44 date numerology, the kill date for July. They even had to tell you that in the Wikipedia that Butler's 35 miles from Pittsburgh. And remember, it's 35 days from De Niro's birthday, who played the character modeled after Arthur Bremer, who shot George Wallace. And again, we're going to get to that greater parallel. All right, so the town of Butler. And by the way, if I'm giving you too much information, again, my website, you can go there, read it later. You do want to retain this information because they do this over and over. This is the knowledge, no matter how hard it is for the average person to grasp. This is the knowledge to see through how we are getting played like fools day after day. And that's why I've been here motivated every single day for over a decade. Somebody give me a Lifetime Achievement Award. Oh, my. It's just... every day, we've been dead on point about what's going on, and more people in the world need to catch on so that the point of doing this can be realized, to stop it, to get people to stop getting invested in the lies and getting played for fools. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. We're giving history lessons every day, and also a bit of the occult knowledge that everyone's missing, the stuff that really ties it all together. So anyway, this town of Butler is named after a man named Richard Butler. He's from the time of the American Revolutionary War, which began on Ignatius Loyola Day, April 19th. Again, there's a reason that RFK Jr. gave his first speech running for this election when he's connected to these assassinations. There's a reason he gave it on April 19th. I covered it back then, and I covered why he got in the roost on April 5th, and I covered how it was showing that, you know, I mentioned it back then. You go watch the video from back then. When Trump turned 78, this Kennedy connection, Biden having the same birthday as RFK, they're signaling an assassination coming, and possible multiple assassinations, just like 68 had MLK and RFK, MLK on 4/4. But yes, Richard Butler died at 48. And look at what day he died. The day before the election this year. Isn't that weird? Again, Donald Trump, 48. Comes up all the time. He died, this shooting was 103 days after his April Fool's birthday anniversary. Butler, Pennsylvania equals 103. Jesuits, the plural's 103. That's the 27th prime, where Ritual's 27. Again, in my first book in 2017, I write about the 27 Club and how these numbers 103 and 27 come together a lot. Again, just this Crooks name when Tupac, who's also a Crooks, this shooting was 27 days after his birthday. A lot of people earlier this year were really focused on the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, and it was all paying tribute to Tupac and Machiavelli. Again, Kendrick Lamar put out that song on the anniversary of the real Machiavelli's birthday, the day that they announced Tupac's mom dead. Because remember, they put out that Machiavelli album. They put out that Machiavelli album on Guy Fawkes Day, 53 days after Tupac's death. Again, the real Machiavelli's birthday is May 3rd, 5-3. Pennsylvania's got the 53 connection too, where this shooting just happened at. But yes, again, the Jesuit web of deceit. They love to really pack it all together, things that have been powerful in culture. You see, these are the architects of the script everyone's living out. They got all the same mysteries and questions, and they've been all watching the History Channel together. You know, the History Channel's allowed to monetize their conspiracy stuff, but people like us, we're not allowed to make anything. If we have a conspiracy thing, we can't make any money, but the History Channel can do their conspiracy stuff. It's like, why is that? You know, and not just the History Channel, all the mainstream stuff, they can do it, but people like us, we're not allowed to put it together. And as far as I'm concerned, we're putting it together way better than anybody else ever has before, with tons of receipts and tons of future calls. The date Richard Butler died, it can also be written 4/11, the fourth day in November. It's Diddy's birthday, by the way. But 4/11 is interesting because in Jewish gematria, assassin equals 4/11, like how JFK was shot from 411 Elm Street. Richard Butler, though, dead at 48. Trump potentially could end up becoming number 48. You know who else could become number 48? Now that I think about it, if let's say Biden ends up finishing the term and we're wrong about the Gerald Ford prophecy about how it makes so much sense with Kamala to be the first woman. Again, Gerald Ford said on October 18th, 1989, at the Herbert Hoover Library, an old man will die someday in office, giving us the first female president. And again, the Herbert Hoover Library, where he said it piece is huge. Because, again, Herbert Hoover died the same day that Kamala Harris was born, October 20th, 1964. So let's just say somehow Biden finishes out. Trump wins re-election with J.D. Vance. That's their way it could be. Trump's number 47, and maybe they're telling us right here with this whole McKinley thing that it happens again to Trump, but this time he's not so lucky. And next thing you got the new Teddy Roosevelt in there. Mr. Vance at 48. It's another, again, we see how they do the script, but it's again, we're not always exact on how it exactly comes together. It's just like we knew that when Biden and Kamala took office, something big was going to happen right around June 1st with female presidency, and then Michelle's mom dies, and then Mexico announces the first female president in its nation's history, in the very Catholic nation. It's a Jewish woman. It's funny. It's like Richard Simmons, who was born Jewish, who converted to Catholicism. This J.D. Vance, very Catholic, a Catholic Marine he is. And by the way, J.D. Vance, he did take office as a senator at age 38. Go figure. I know we've been talking about that one a lot. This shooting 38 days after Reagan's death anniversary and the anniversary of RFK getting shot. Some 38 minutes ago, JFK died, was how Cronkite announced it, when 38's the number of death. All right, so the assassin of hold on, let me make sure. I feel like there were some things that I should have mentioned that I did not. Am I in the right post? Or I think we got it all. Okay, I think we got it. All right, moving on. All right, the assassin of Roosevelt in Milwaukee. Again, the youngest VP since J.D. Vance, announced in Milwaukee. Again, he's got this 3/5 birthday. His September 15th death is very important too, as we'll get to. But look at this. His surname, Schrank. Again, this guy's from Bavaria, where the Illuminati was founded. The Illuminati founded by a Jesuit who Yale Skull and Bones is modeled after, and maybe some of those other secret societies at Yale are also modeled after the Bavarian Illuminati. Again, I know the most obvious about Skull and Bones. They're the most famous one. But notice how Shrink and Masonic overlap. 74 with the alphabetic order, 29 with the alphabetic order and numerology, 115 with the reverse alphabetic order, 43 with the reverse alphabetic order and numerology. Masonry is very important too. Modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. Jesuit priests wrote the final degrees of the Scottish Rite. We're going to get to how these numbers connect to killing too, but Trump left office at 74. Remember, Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables all equal 74. People have been comparing Trump to Jesus, the Jewish Messiah in Israel. Right now, a lot of conversations of how this was an act of God to save his life, that he didn't end up like JFK. It could have been his head splatted had it just been another inch over. JFK was shot in Dealey Plaza, named after a Mason. DC's the Masonic city, but the Jesuits have been there longer than the Masons or the Feds. You know, Georgetown established just before George Washington announced as the first president, 1789. Georgetown's the first Jesuit university. But this shooting happened 29 days after Trump's June 14th birthday. Shrink and Masonic in reverse are both 115, like killing, like assassin. We're going to get to how this shooting again was 115 days before the November 5th election, 115. He won the first caucus this year in Iowa, January 15th, 115 with 56% of the vote, like November 5th, the big Jesuit day where the Jesuits also celebrate 56. But again, just the day of that election, 115, the day that Trump had an assassination scare in 2016 in Nevada, which also equals 115. But he's got this 115 in his name. We're going to get to how it matters that this shooting was also 115 days after Barron Trump's birthday, because you've seen Melania's been a big part of this story. What Melania said about how she feared for her husband and her son's own life and her life. But 43 as well. Again, we talked about this the other day. Marilyn Manson with the first music video about Trump getting assassinated. Assassination equals 191. It was on the 191st day of Marilyn Manson's age, the 43rd prime number. Again, as we'll get to, killing equals 74, 115, and 43 in the same ciphers. But notice, from Barron Trump's 18th birthday, now you have this big thing with Vance and the 18, but from Barron Trump's 18th birthday, they had him synced up with the 78th NBA Finals, which began 78 days after his birthday, and they had to move Game 4 to Trump's 78th birthday. But again, 115 days after Barron Trump's birthday. Let's not forget that JFK died on 115 date numerology either. But yes, from Trump's birthday to the shooting, 29 days. I forgot to put the screenshot up there, but June 14th to July 13th should be easy math. There's 30 days in June, so that's 16 days to the end of the month plus 13 more. You know, Trump with a fist pump photo op under the 13 stripes on the 13th of the month. Straight Hollywood. They got it well in one take, though. You got to give it to him. Well done. Trump's been in Hollywood a long time. He knows show business. He knows being down on the mats in the WWA, the little razor blade trick. A little nick will give you a lot of blood. High drama. Hardly feel it. You know, he was hardly feeling. He's just feeling the, oh, we're nailing this photo op right now. America, USA. I mean, it's just like, can this nation pull its head out of its ass? But anyway, it is 29 days after Trump's birthday. Joe Biden, he's under scrutiny for using the phrase bullseye. We got to put Trump in the bullseye. Look at the gematria bullseye, you guys. 101 like assassin, 29 like bullseye in Trump, like 29 days after his birthday, 115 like we just covered, 43. Remember, this shooting was 101 days after Alec Baldwin's birthday, who played Donald Trump on SNL, got away with smoking the Ukrainian woman. You could say that the decision for Baldwin was on the 101st day of his age. The shooting, you could say, was on his 102nd day of his age, the Art of War, or 101 days after his birthday. If you missed my coverage of the Baldwin verdict, again, a million 101s in it. It was in the church shootout scene. Church equals 101, Helena, and the list goes on. If you watch my video on that, it was the day before the Trump thing. We talked about the parallels. Now the word assassin's 101, and the next thing you know, said you got to watch out. They're signaling something big's coming July 13th. Boom. Again, assassin, 101. 20, like how old he is. 115. How about 61? Kind of reminds you of January 6th or 1861 when the Civil War began. Again, Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders. He died on January 6th, 6/1. In light of the assassin back then being from Bavaria, where the Illuminati was founded, notice the 54. This is all synced up with Melania's 54th birthday. Again, Jesuit orders 54, sons 54. Huge number with the Jesuits. Remember what they did to Elvis Presley's daughter at 54? Golden Globes equals 54 forwards and backwards. Elvis started recording with Sun Record Studios in 54, right after the actor portraying him wins Best Actor for portraying Elvis. Elvis's daughter just drops dead at 54. And remember, sadly, we covered it right when the news broke that she was being taken by ambulance. I said, it looks like she's going to be reported dead later today, you guys. I did the same video then about 54, Jesuits, Illuminati, Elvis. 27, again, the Tupac was rapping about Illuminati, Illuminati. That's what it says right on that album that came out on November 5th after his death. Don Illuminati. They just put a K. Kill Illuminati is what it was about. Illuminati. I mean, they were giving this to you in Tupac. Now, 27 days after, again, his birthday anniversary, Bavaria 135. We just talked about. I mean, did I not bring up the significance of 135 the day before in light of how I was talking about the new Eminem album, and I had to go back to his Darkness music video and why they showed the shooter in room 135 and everything else about that, because I know I talked about this stuff. I know I'm not tripping. Bavaria's got the double connection to 54. Baseball is the ultimate 54 sport. 54 outs in a game has the double connection to 54 like Bavaria. I mean, look at who's smacking all the home runs out of the park in Pennsylvania the day after the shooting. 4 days after his 4th birthday, yesterday. 4 days, number 4, 4 days after his birthday, goes to the plate and hits 3 home runs. His line was 6 at-bats, 3 runs, 3 hits, kind of reminds you of 63. 3 home runs with 6 RBIs. And he only had 6 home runs for the season coming in. He's got a July 10th birthday, 10/7, like 107, like shooting 107, like this happening in the time that JFK would be 107 years old. Again, the finals for the NBA were set the day after JFK's 107th birthday anniversary. Celtics win in against the Mavs, plus 107 scoring all time. Game 1, they win with 107 points. They win the finals on Jason Tatum's 107th day of his age. On 617, when Boston's the 617 area code, which is the 113th prime number, like Dallas equals 113, like the National Basketball Association, like Scottish. Here we are 113 days before the election with this Masonic tribute to the VP nominee. But yeah, this player is also from Atlanta. Trump's got high drama in Atlanta. Made his debut on August 11th, 118. We call that the Philadelphia number. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 118. And even Philadelphia, PA's 118. That's why we thought the Phillies would be in the 118th World Series with 20-1 odds before the season even began in the year they were. Getting the power of this knowledge over and over. But yes, Butler. And again, we had the A's to beat the Phillies in the series before the series even began by the numbers. And again, nobody sees these. When you watch on ESPN, they're like, who could have predicted that? And you know they're watching us because they've been mocking us for years, writing articles about us, trying to demean us. Vice News wrote an article about making fun of, quoting me. It's like, here we are now in 2024, 7 years since that article, and the exact same thing I wrote about with the hurricane in sports in Texas is doing the exact same thing all these years later, the exact same pattern. People think what I'm talking about is crazy because it sounds crazy. I'm exposing crazy people. That doesn't mean I'm crazy. I'm observant. I worked my ass off since I was 18 years old when 9/11 happened to figure out this number madness from these psychopaths who lie to us every day that seemingly no one else can see through. So that's what gets annoying. It's just like people who are on I'd say every critic I have out there, you guys just don't have enough IQ points. You guys think you're way smarter than you are. I hear some of you guys talk about me like, I bet Zach's not even educated. I got a master's degree. Is that education? I used to teach. I've never been thought of as a dummy. As far as I'm concerned, one of the only people I've ever known in my own life. Sadly, you see great people online, but in my own life, I haven't really seen anybody that's just been on the level. Just everyone just putting their mask on and going along with every last lie. That's been almost everyone around me my whole life. Then even the smart guy I know will be like, oh, Zach, it's interesting, but I don't know, man. I think if there was like something going on, somebody just spilled the beans. It's like, yeah, I'm sure they would. You know, it's not like this nation was founded by secret societies that they didn't teach us about in our 13 years of slave school, pledging to the 13 stripes. So we'd never question a moment like Donald Trump under the 13 stripes on the 13th, pumping his fist while the Secret Service pauses so he can do that when he's supposedly being shot at. I mean, it's like, can't anyone see through any of this? Apparently, a bullet whizzed by and killed somebody behind him, but there's no footage of that anywhere, and the age of cameras everywhere. The victim's name equals 195, and the shooting was on the 195th day of the year. The shooting of Trump came exactly 44 weeks and a few days after the anniversary of McKinley's shooting. 44 weeks, shooting 44 on the 44 date numerology. Over and over. The first president to die in office, William Henry Harrison, died April 4th. The last one to die in office was Kennedy, the 44th term president. Trump, number 45, but the 44th person to be president. Versus Joe Biden, who equals 44, who was the VP to number 44. Barack Obama, 68, like MLK killed in 68 on 4-4. Obama, 44 years after the Civil Rights Act, from the land of Lincoln, where the Civil War was, that had a lot to do with civil rights. There was a Civil Rights Act in 1864, if you look it up. And funny enough, civil rights equals 64, like Barack Hussein Obama. Year Kamala was born. All right, so yeah, there's even more here, but again, I don't want to overwhelm. I just want to paint like some of the top parallels that are just so obvious. By the way, the whole Crooks thing. Thomas Crooks equals 157. Again, the shooting was 157 days from the Pope's birthday on Saturnalia, December 17, 2024. That'll be his 88th birthday when Trump equals 88. Like the Republican Party, big number with Trump rituals all along. Again, this coming special day, July 19th, 201st day of the leap year, that's going to be 457 days after RFK Jr. did his first speech for president. That's the 88th prime. July 19th could get interesting. The shooting was on 19 date numerology, the chaos number. Order out of chaos is the motto. Order out of chaos equals 78 as well. But 157 for Thomas Crooks is the 37th prime, shooting 37. Georgia's a 37-44 state-like shooting, which connects with MLK on 4-4. But the 37th president was Nixon. And we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Nixon's resignation on August 9th. And Nixon, he said, I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook. So, and again, Nixon became president in 72, the year that Joe Biden became senator-elect, the year that George Wallace was shot, the year that Eminem was born and Diddy's father was assassinated. Now Diddy getting it by the numbers at the same time, as we predicted, at age 54, by the same Jesuit prosecutor that did R. Kelly at 54, when Jesuit orders 54, like Bavaria. Again, Illuminati, founded by a Jesuit in Bavaria. Go figure, with the same numbers. Hollywood putting out movies by the Illuminati code about Cable 54 ruling the world by 2025, and they live. Or if only you had the lens, you could see through their operations right in front of your face every single day. One more thing about Butler. It became a city in 1918. I'm just saying how Vance is 18. And again, this nomination, 18 days before his birthday. Again, that's a Jesuit one, IHS. 18 represents the meaning of life. Yeah, there's even more to that. Okay, getting back on topic. This Schrank guy, the guy who shot Roosevelt in Milwaukee. Oh, for the record, you guys, Dealey Plaza's 54, like Ambassador Hotel. That's where the Kennedys got smoked. And RFK Jr. officially got in the race on the 5th day of the 4th month. Again, 144 days after the Superior General's birthday, the leader of the Jesuits, when his father died at 1:44 a.m. and JFK died 144 days to meet with the Pope. And again, this year's election's 144 days after Trump's birthday on November 5th. And now it's 144 days after Biden met with the Pope, because he met on Trump's birthday. And again, August 9th, the day we're watching for, the Richard Nixon anniversary resigning. That's the day leaving 144 days left in the year, and on and on and on. And Lincoln shot on 14/4, the 14th of April, the day the Secret Service was established. Also the day that little puppet Elon Musk, total Jesuit puppet, always by the puppet strings, offered $54 a share on the anniversary of the Jesuit assassination of Lincoln. Remember, Tesla equals 78 like Jesuit, and he was declared the world's richest man for the first time ever, January 7th, 2021, the 78th anniversary of Tesla's death in 43 on that same day. Okay, coming back to the shooter, Shrank. No, just notice the gematria, his surname. Again, just like Masonic, Killing, Lucifer. You see how Lucifer and Killing are also 38? Again, it was 38 days after Reagan's death anniversary. Shrank used a 38 like John Lennon got. Shout out to Jonathan. Someday he's going to finish his book, Gematria, or the 38 special about all the dead rappers in 38, including Tupac dead on a 38 date numerology. But again, Shrank died on September 15th. And that is the day, leaving 107 days left in the year. Let's get that up here. I forgot to put the screenshot. But remember, Kennedy be 107 right now. Shooting equals 107. September 15th, 107 days left in the year. Butler County, established in 1918, means 2025 will be 107 years after it was established, which means right now it's in a 107th year of existence. But notice, he died 15/9, which can be written like 159. Trump's born on the 165th day of the year. It looks like I forgot. I put it further down here. That's why I missed it. Trump's born on the 165th day of the year. Donald Trump equals 159. Trump's 78 right now. 57 just special for a lot of reasons. Georgetown equals 57, like George Washington, along with several of the first presidents, were inaugurated at age 57. It's a big number with the moon and moon rituals, and here we are in the time of Cancer, ruled by the moon. But yes, Butler also 78. Again, Melania, 78 days after her 54th birthday. Jesuit 78, Jesuit Order 54. It was also 11 weeks and 1 day after her birthday, and Kennedy equals 111 and 78. Again, we talked about that, how they did that big time with these NBA and NHL playoffs. For the first time, the NBA and NHL playoffs began on the same day, the 111th day of the leap year. It was the 78th NBA season. Again, Kennedy, 78, 111. The NBA Finals was obvious. Boston and Dallas, JFK cities. The hockey team that won in Florida, they played right next to Parkland. JFK died at Parkland Hospital. And again, the Parkland school shooting was 214. JFK died in the 214 area code. Dallas, this shooting in Pennsylvania was 214 days from the state's birthday. Ronald Reagan in Gematria equals 214, like Church of Satan, where the highest degree is mega. And it goes with the Chiefs parade shooting on 214 this year. Because again, the Chiefs started in Dallas where JFK was killed. And they moved to Kansas City in 63. But yeah, Donald Trump, again, just to recap, again, just 159 like 15/9, 60 days from George Wallace, whose name also equals 60, before the 60th election, the shooting the day before the anniversary of his wife's death, who died exactly 60 weeks into the first Jesuit Ignatian year, which ran more than a typical calendar year. It went from May 20th, 2021 to July 31st, 2022, which was an end with Bill Russell's very Jesuit death. He went to Jesuit San Francisco University, died right after the Celtics lost to the San Francisco team in the finals that paid tribute to the first Jesuit Pope, with the Celtics falling to 17-5 in finals when Pope Francis won 75. Something we called out that was so easy to see before the playoffs even began. Why it would be Golden State over Boston. And it was all set on the Pope's birthday. Again, when the Celtics fell to 7-5 at home, December 17th of that season. And then the Warriors became 7-5 in finals, giving Boston their 75th home loss in playoff history. Anyway, Catholic Church and Roman Catholic, 75. Another big number, just like how NATO just had that 75 thing. I want to get into it. It all went with Israel's war popping off while they were 75, when the New York Times wrote on October 6, 1940, New World Order pledged to Jews. The date was 75 numerology. New World Order equals 75, like the word order itself, like order out of chaos also. Anyway, back to this. Just this whole 115 thing with Trump. Again, Trump took office with the 115th Congress when he won the presidency back in 2016, took office 2017. He hired Steve Ray for Inauguration Day, the Nationals announcer. When the Nationals won the World Series, it was the 115th World Series. It was 138 days after Trump's birthday, just like we called it out before the playoffs began that year. Why the Nationals would win in Game 7, 138 days after Trump's birthday over the Houston Astros, exactly what they did. Donald Trump, 138, like Nationals, like Dave Martinez, like Federal, like the Misfits, We Are 138. Movie about robots taking over. Think about the time of Trump now with everything going on in the world. You guys got to love that the market went up 211 points today securely over 40,000 with all this 40 stuff going on. I mean, it's just like I've always said, it's all rigged. The market, all of it's all one big number show. But anyway, Trump's always been about the 115. Thank you equals 115. He went on the thank you tour when he first became president. It's like, come on, man. 115 overload. Again, first caucus this year, January 15th. He wins it. Now this mega ritual, 115 days after Barron's birthday, 115 days for the 11/5 election. So yeah, 115. The shooter again, who we just decoded from the history's past with the 115 connection, killing, assassin, Masonic, Lucifer. They all equal 115 in gematria. Schrank died at 47. Again, going with Trump's agenda 47. McKinley who was replaced by Roosevelt, who was shot by Schrank, who died at 47. McKinley was the 25th president. Again, this shooting synced up with the Pope's 88th birthday. July 19th could get interesting 2 days after, the day after the convention ends. Notice Trump speaking on July 18th again, you guys, 18/7, like 187, 187 days from Inauguration Day, just like he did back in 2016. Remember how important 187 is. For right now, for starters, JFK assassination equals 187. Happened in the 187th year of the nation's existence. Washington, D.C. equals 187. George Washington, 187. Holy Roman Empire, 187. Brotherhood of Death, 187. That's the alias for Skull and Bones. Ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, like it's etched on the temple with the ampersand, 187. So many 187 death rituals. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a really blatant one, 187 days after her birthday. Thomas Massey just lost his wife in a 187 ritual. The stuff's really happening all the time. But let's not forget that Trump and the Pope, their birthdays are a span of 187 days apart as well. June 14th to December 17th. So again, July 19th will be 457 days after RFK Jr. gave his first speech on April 19th. Very infamous date connected to Ignatius Loyola becoming the first superior general, but then connected to the Revolutionary War. You know, things like Waco and Oklahoma City, but just almost tragedy every year in the world. Jesuit-educated RFK Jr., who got in the race in a big Jesuit ritual, had to do that. And all the parallels, I'm thinking, I wonder if 457 days later, the 88th prime, I wonder if we don't get something, a little follow-up that just reminds us of what we just experienced on July 13th. You know, assassination scare stories. I mean, it might not be anywhere near as big as July 13th, but might be some, just latest hype. Oh, something the Secret Service, they sniffed out this time they got it. We'll see where they go with it. But just watch. Ongoing scripted storylines, themes, parallels to further drive the American people apart as they get more pitted against each other, taking sides with these divisive characters, these grumpier old men in 2024. Again, it's straight Hollywood. I mean, in the next election, they might dig up Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon and have them run against each other, parade them around like a Weekend at Bernie's, like they did with Jimmy Carter at the start of the year, or was it the end of last year when his wife survived 1 day in hospice care, whereas he's going for the Guinness Book of World Records of like day 1,000 there. Probably on ice right now. They got to wheel him out pretty soon. They got the dolly ready. If you guys have been missing all the rituals they've been doing with Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden and Cullen, Georgia, again, you guys, it's all been a mockery by the numbers this whole time. The collapse of Afghanistan's government on the Jesuit order's birthday compared to Jimmy Carter's 444-day Iranian hostage crisis, which Ronald Reagan had figured out 5 seconds after taking the office. I mean, but yeah, this one right here, you guys, I mean, this is why, like all of you, like, for example, I bet he's watching right now. The guy who came out to Buffalo and New York with us, and we were warned that you were a Fed, and it sure was looking like you are, and who's now making videos saying that all this is nonsense and Gematria is BS, and there's no Jesuits doing anything. Again, debunk this. Where is your argument for Trump declaring Operation Warp Speed on the anniversary of George Wallace getting shot? Because you guys got to remember, Sandy Lindsay was the first vaccinated person in America for the cooties. At the end of 2020 on December 14th, the anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting, these little shot jokes. And then as Bill de Blasio is telling New York to get their third shot, Steph Curry setting the three-point record in New York City with Jesus Shuttlesworth in attendance. Ray Allen, born on the 201st day of the year when, I can't even get into all of it. Sandy Hook has the 201 all over it again. It was 201 months after Dune Blaine, which got gun rights taken away in the UK and was the targeting of first graders as well. And then the pandemic was simulation event 201. And again, if you're new here, there's a reason the first Jesuit Pope is the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. The Jesuit order equals 201, like Jorge Mario Bergoglio's birth name, like Ignatius Loyola, the founder. Anyway, look at this. From Trump's Operation Warp Speed to the shooting, another type of shots, exactly a span of 1,521 days. Cannonball Day is May 20th, starting in 1521 when Ignatius got shot, the Jesuit. I mean, we've been talking about this. Eileen Cannon wanting him in court on May 20th. Billy Cannon dying on that day. Remember, Jesuit order equals 54. This shooting came 54 days after Cannonball Day, May 20th, while his wife is 54. And remember, Joe Burrow, who went to LSU right as Billy Cannon died on Cannonball Day, Joe Burrow goes into the NFL in the Joe Montana ritual. Joe Montana equals 54. It was right after Super Bowl 54. Then he takes the Bengals, who Montana beat 2 times, to the Super Bowl in their 54th season. In Super Bowl 56, when Jesuit order equals 54 and Society of Jesus equals 56. And that was the 102nd NFL season, the Art of War number. And then there's a war in Ukraine days later when they have the same colors Ukraine as the Rams, who won that Super Bowl, with Sean McVay, the coach, whose fiance, who he's getting married to at that time, is from Ukraine. And then they have him on TV talking about the war. And then Ares, the god of war, is the ram. And then NATO's meeting by the numbers as soon as Ares begins, synced up with the Super Bowl. And then the Pope is pleading with Putin on the 56th day of the year after Super Bowl 56, when again, Society of Jesus is 56. Again, for the goofball who I guarantee is watching right now, who I'm calling out, entertain me and back up your words about how the Jesuits don't have anything to do with what's going on in the world right now and how all this shit's a coincidence when all these people I'm calling out are Jesuit educated. And they gave us the calendar, and they gave us the language, and they've been warned about by the founders. Jefferson and Adams warned about what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. And then they both die on the nation's birthday, July 4th, 1826. And then Monroe, who had it out for the Catholic Church, dies 1,826 days later on 7/4. 3 of the first 5 are dead. Nice Catholic number, like how they did JFK number 35 on I-35. Yeah, let me hear how the Israel runs it. Where was Israel back when it was 1826? How come Israel unfolded by this Catholic Jesuit code? And remember, the Jesuits are a Catholic Jewish alliance, but it's predominantly Catholic, a much bigger religion than Judaism. With a lot more members and a lot more, well, I won't say more history. Judaism's been around longer, but has never established the power that the Catholic Church did. Catholic Church, man, they're the best at pulling the wool over the masses. And by the way, shout out to young Jay with open eyes. He was the first one to catch the whole bullseye thing. And shout out to the person who left this comment as well. Somebody did this measurement. I was talking about Operation Warp Speed and it being the anniversary of George Wallace getting shot. And remember, you guys, that's Mercuralia, May 15th. Mercuralia. 2 years before that, May 15th, 2018, Clade X, the first Cooties pandemic simulation, 666 days before it was declared on March 11, 2020, on the 2-year anniversary of that. Trump, number 45, declaring the warp speed. By the way, with all this 107 and 44 we've been talking about, you guys, look at warp speed. 107, 44, just like shooting. I mean, I made a point about this in my book, Number Games, which came out in 2020. The play on shots. And Google, seriously, why am I not allowed to make any pennies on my videos, but History Channel could do this? They could do it with better editing, put out similar things. That would be monetizable. But a small independent guy, been working his ass off for over a decade, whose channel you've deleted 20 sometimes, hardly allowed any channels to be monetized. And the ones that have, again, you guys, like the last one I had before this, they demonetized it the day we finished driving from Seattle to New York. The day we got to New York, they demonetized the channel. And then they delete the whole channel by the numbers right after the New York trip. If you missed out on all that coverage, we went city to city teaching this knowledge, city to city from Seattle to New York, all the way across, getting people together, dropping knowledge, bringing people together. That kind of stuff needs to happen way more. But again, since that trip, my funding also cut in half. It was already way too low back then. Now it's way, way, way lower. And again, undeservedly so. I was envisioning when we did that we were going to build this thing. I was saying it back then. I was saying by the time 2024 comes around, we'll be going everywhere Trump does and wake up all of his delusional supporters to see what it really is, what they're being manipulated by, this satanic, deceptive, evil thing, straight mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Again, it's powerful when we're on the street educating. People stop and listen because we make sense. Keep it more simple on the street, but there's just so many ways to go about it. Again, supposedly this bullet captured by the New York Times reporter, Mr. Mills, while everybody's full of Cocoa Puffs from General Mills. Brains aren't operating because they're all full of sugar and crap. Well, my whole life I've just been believing what the media says and the lights have stayed on, so it's good enough for me. But yeah, the shooting, you guys, was on the 195th day of the year. The New York Times, 195 big way, 78 small way. In my last book, I talked about the 78 rituals with the New York Times and the pandemic. In my first book, when I first started this knowledge, you guys, when I began, I have an aunt in North Dakota. When I first started, I only posted on Facebook. When I first started in 2013, all my posts were on Facebook. That got deleted back in 2016. But my aunt in North Dakota, she shared this article from the New York Times about how a lot of people who have ideas like me are mentally ill. She was sharing this article that was like freshly written by the New York Times back then. And it's just annoying too. It's just like, look at your own family members. They believe all the bullshit from these publications. They just bullshit them all the time. And then when somebody comes along and figures out something to expose their ritualism, then your own family members are like, oh, it couldn't be that. You sound mentally ill. It's like our own families are more beholden to these liars. And doesn't that name mean everything? I mean, oh, the New York Times said it was good. Better read it. Oh, the New York Times said it's the movie of the year. Oh, my God, they're reputable. I better watch it. Yeah, okay, the New York Times, he's got the magic camera that captured the bullet. Okay, I'm sure. Just like how the guy who died, who's nowhere in any camera, his name equals 195, going with the shooting on the 195th day of the year. But again, 78, Butler. Jesuits do run the New York Times. Take a look for yourself. They've been doing news by the numbers since before any of us were alive. And it's always been run by Jesuits, that publication. BBC has a long history with the Jesuits too. Again, the Jesuits came over from Europe. They've been all over the world since before this nation even existed. The Jesuits were big in Japan, the land of the rising sun, before this country even existed. Getting the ideas for making up author names like Sun Tzu, the Sun Cult. But yeah, look at the guy's name in the most pure cipher who captured the bullet. Doug Mills, 40. Markets at 40,000. J.D. Vance, about to turn 40. They're about to do Reagan 40 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just, it's par for the course. 84. Butler Jesuit, 84-78. RIP to the first black coach to win the first college basketball championship in 84 with Jesuit Georgetown. John Thompson just dead out of nowhere unexpectedly at 78. And then they're renaming the court after him 66 weeks and 6 days later. It's like what they did to Kobe, born in 78, with all his 666 rituals. And then now they did him dirty at age 41 on the 41st day of the Pope's age, traveling from Catholic Mass. Joe Biden was in Catholic Mass, supposedly, when Trump got shot. If you haven't read my book from 2017, there's a chapter in there about Kobe and how his whole career was defined by 41, only for him to die at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age. Right as they signed AD, when Kobe did the AD shoe right after he retired. Kobe Bryant after death. Straight mockery. Synced up with Nike's ad from in the 80s with Moses Malone as Moses from Exodus 4. Kobe was 4 when Moses Malone won the championship for Philly. Moses Malone died 213 days before Kobe's last game in the 2-1-3 when he was drafted out of high school by Utah, like who Kobe finished his career against. Then Kobe's dead 4 years after Moses Malone. Moses Malone also died on that September 13th day, like Tupac and George Wallace. Again, it's Caesar Borgia's birthday. The Prince, written by Machiavelli, is based on Caesar Borgia. It's like Tupac dead on Caesar Borgia's birthday, where white Jesus comes from. Dead in the Machiavelli Ritual with the November 5th release, against how all this stuff fits. Same people doing it all, making it obvious. And then dummies like that clown, that Fed coming around in Buffalo and New York, driving around talking about how you don't need numbers to see what's going on. It's not the Jesuits. It's obviously Jews. Shame on you. And see, that's what they really want you to think. They want you to stay stuck in that loop of blaming everything on Jews and Israel. I'm not saying they're an innocent party. They're not running this shit. That 3-6 Mafia song, who run it? This is who runs it. The Jesuits, who gave you the calendar and the language. And nearly all these, again, you guys think about how massive they are. They have the biggest private network of hospitals and colleges in the world, the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. Is everyone not in debt from school and medical bills? Oh, they're running those systems. You start to understand why the Federal Reserve was established right before the World Wars, at the tail end of the president being 56 years old, perfectly synced with the Pope. If Israel runs the world, how was the Federal Reserve established before them? I contend to you that every last critic I have is a coward, a loser, a dummy who will only talk shit on videos but never, ever come on and try to debate because they know they'll get wasted. A lot of people in that group. A lot of people with undeservingly big audiences who are raping their audience and lying to them. No Impact Flicks telling his fan base that he's got a dying niece and he needs to raise a whole bunch of money for her, and then he raises $40,000. 2 weeks later, does a video showing his total remodel of the inside of his house. His base doesn't even get it. It's because he's part of this satanic cabal, like a lot of these shills on here. Prove me wrong that he's not part of it. That guy was trying to make me look like a bad person when we got to Oklahoma City, and he started focusing on us and tried to do attack videos when we were on OKC on April 19th, educating about what really went down with Timothy McVeigh in 95. You know? Remember, I had everything to do with Biden. I mean, it's an old topic, but a current topic. People don't understand how Biden passed in the nation's first counterterrorism legislation on Governor Keating's birthday, right before the first act of domestic terrorism, and now the focus becomes domestic terrorism. Bush the other year said the new focus is domestic terrorism. And I've been saying this since I was a young person when the 9/11 laws passed. All those laws also targeted us potentially. And as time goes on, you start to see how the media focus in the new post 9/11 age, where there's all these laws, like part of the law of the land is if you're deemed a terrorist, you don't have any rights as a citizen. They can detain you and not tell anyone. That is the law of the land in America, and people don't realize that. And for the most part, we still don't know about people like yours truly and others getting rounded up and thrown in a cell with nobody knowing. But there have been people in time who've disappeared. They very well could have been the subjects of the new policies of the land in the post 9/11 era, all based on lies. Everyone giving up their rights and liberties because they're all being made scared by Big Brother, who's orchestrating all the shenanigans. But yeah, how about this? Here was a win for today. 101 weeks after the Mar-a-Lago raid, you guys, the case is thrown out. 101 weeks, just days after the assassination, when again, Assassins 101. You know what I mean? Today's 113 days before the election, or a span of 114 days. Classified documents 114. President of the United States 114. Scottish is 113. It's big with Masonry, the 113 thing. This story that Fox had up for a lot of the day about how it starts at home. They promoted it to an even bigger headline with the same thing. Starts at home. They kept this phrase up all day. I just thought about the real mockery and just how the people who are asleep don't see it. The programming, back to your regularly scheduled programming. It really does all just start at home. Everyone watching screens, getting programmed. A lot of people in households where if they don't believe the lies that the TV's telling them, if they question it, they're going to learn the hard way from older people around them, possibly their own parents, that they're weirdos and sound like conspiracy theorists and need to stop with all that nonsense. Again, it's been the American attitude since forever. You know, in America, you don't talk about religion or politics. Like, okay, you don't really talk about the things that are controlling us. 9/11 happens. Oh, you don't question that. It's no time to question that. We just need to support this nation, which is in a time of mourning. It's like, I think we need to question it, because what if they do it again? What if it is our own government and they do it again? What if they do it worse? What else can they do? See, because people never ask those questions, they still don't see it, and they still getting played like fools. They're so foolish. They think Donald Trump, who ushered in the Switzerland banker agenda, just going along with every last step of it by the numbers. Remember, his Jesuit education began in 64, like the 64 spaces on the chessboard. The same year Kamala was born at Fordham. That was 56 years before 2020. Washington, D.C., 56. Society of Jesus, 56. Coronavirus, 56. COVID vaccine, 56. Regeneron, 56. Toilet paper, 56. Remember the toilet paper shortage? All-Seeing Eye, 56. Mind Control, 56. Gavin Newsom, 56. The Jesuit who locked down California, the first governor. He's 56 years old right now. But he said 56% will get coronavirus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. Kamala takes the White House at age 56 with Biden. Black Lives Matter equals 56. Obama won the 56th election with Biden. Black Lives Matter painted on the streets of D.C. a little before the election of Kamala and Biden. Again, from the Black Lives Matter to the Black Panthers, it's been the Catholic Church all along. Look at all the Black Panther meetings. They were in Catholic churches when they started up. All of them in the Bay Area, where old Kamala comes from. But yeah, Thomas Cooks, one more time. Today is 15/7, like 157, like United States is 157, like Thomas Crooks equals 57. Today, the shooting was 157 days before the Pope's birthday. Again, it's the 37th prime. Shooting equals 37, like Milwaukee, where the convention is today. They kept showing that this screenshot of his address. I've been thinking for a while there's something to 256 that I haven't put my finger on. This is 2506, which is a little bit different. But Butler, Pennsylvania is 256. I just see it come up in my research, and I don't really document it because I don't know what it means. Again, I wasn't born into this. I learned from the outside looking in. I read about the occult, Kabbalah, letters, numbers, gematria, and then did my own investigative research applying the code that I read about in Manly P. Hall's book from 1926, The Secret Teaching to All Ages. And again, the rest is history. But where we are now, in August, it'll be 11 years of researching this topic. Middle of August will be the 11th anniversary. I don't remember exactly what day it was in August. I just know it was the middle of August when I laid my eyes on the word gematria and started looking into it. And in no time, I was just compiling a list. Oh, by the way, Richard Nixon, who was elected in 72, the year George Wallace was shot, if he were alive, this shooting would have been on his 187th day of his age, and he'd be 111 years old like Kennedy's 111. Again, JFK shot in the 187th year of the nation's existence, like we just talked about, the big 187 list. It was also the 83rd day since his death anniversary. Again, murder 83 like election. The Joker movie comes out 83 days after the shooting. Trump Trump was in the courtroom in Manhattan, April 4th, 2023, what would have been Heath Ledger's 44th birthday, who died while playing Joker, while they were filming Joker at the same time at the same courthouse. But it was exactly 83 weeks before the election. Again, Colorado's the 83 state where Trump got taken off the ballot, and that courthouse got shot up exactly 44 weeks for the election. The ritual they had in Colorado with the first UFC there since 2016, the year that Trump won. But the main event was the fighter Rose from Milwaukee, who got her 14th win 14 days after her birthday when Trump won the 14th Amendment case in Colorado. Again, just scripted sports, scripted politics, scripted shootings, just ongoing political theater planned long in advance. The chosen actors who are going to fit the script just right. There it is. The shot. Looks like he's got tiger paint and blood. What a warrior. Just come on. He's getting shot at and they got time to pause and the fist pumps. Come on, man. He's got time to talk about how he needs to pick up his shoes. Pretty sure that Ole Demigard's a goofball, but the one thing that goofball did put out there is definitely some of the shoes in the shootings. That guy's I don't even know why people watch his videos. Every time he gets on, he's just like, oh, have I told you about how they tried to assassinate me 1,000 times because I unveiled the great secret of shoes and shootings? Like, I'm pretty sure none of that's happened, buddy. I'm pretty sure what you unveiled ain't shit compared to what we unveiled. And I have gone through some things. He doesn't have the story of a car going through 2 walls of his house on Christmas Eve and all the shit I've had to put up with. we've been actually persevering through some real shit, having your whole life flipped us. I had my whole life flipped upside down a little more than a year into this research, and my house got ransacked and raided and everything destroyed and stolen. And my November 15th, 2014, probably forever will be the worst day of my life, unless, well, I mean, worse things could happen, but it's always going to be in the top 5. I guarantee that. So far, it's still the worst. Again, the whole Marilyn Manson music video debut when Trump was elected. You say God, I say Satan, with the Trump assassination, and again, both men's with the Church of Satan connections. Everyone talking about how God saved Trump on the news, all over the place with stories like this, and you just see it. It's crazy. Again, Marilyn Manson's 55 right now. God equals 55. So does Satan. The small way, they both equal 10, God and Satan. 55 is the 10th triangular number, the 10th Fibonacci number. Marilyn Manson's chorus is, when you say God, I say 10, and he spells out 10, T-E-N, like the number. And again, Donald Trump, mega, the highest degree. On the Church of Satan's 45th birthday was the day of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, April 30th, 2011, 45 days before Trump's June 14th birthday, when Obama joked that but Trump would be number 45. Again, exactly 45 days before his birthday. And there's a lot more to that list, but it's crazy. Again, assassination, 191 on the 191st day of Marilyn Manson's age 55. This happens. And remember, Snoop Dogg put out the music video with Trump getting shot, and he changes Trump's spelling of his name to like Donald Clump or something like that, but it equals 137. Again, like how this shooting was on 13/7, like 137, the 33rd prime. Again, Reagan, the 33rd governor, shot on 330. 30 plus 3 is 33. The parallels, Masonry, order, secrecy, federal, all 33. We got those 39 connections too, like we talked about with 39-year-old J.D. Vance. But yeah, I noticed this rabbi they brought up today. He has a book. His name's 193, the 44th prime. Remember, like Secretary of Defense equals 193. That's the leader of the Pentagon, the military. 193, 44th prime. Mad Dog Mattis had a huge 193 ritual with Trump back when they got into a feud. But Mad Dog equals 44, and Mattis equals 44, and military 44, and soldier 44, and infantry 44, and trooper 44. Again, big military number, J.D. Vance, former Marine. Of course, shootings 44. Just the whole Israel piece. Again, it's 44 years and change since the 444-day Iranian hostage crisis began, which I think we're going to see that come up when we see the transition from presidency. But Israel, Zion, and Netanyahu, all 44. So, yeah, these were just some of the other headlines. Nothing but BS. And again, I just hate how the media never questions any of the BS. And we know why. It's because it's the propaganda and programming. They're not here to question. They're here to instill the lies in your mind just repetitiously, day after day, year after year. And because they all dress nice and talk nice and don't use swear words, you know, that's within the cultural programming. You know, I see things like this, and sometimes I wonder if I'm just seeing too much. But you see how they made it so you can only see the 12 on the door? If you add 1 through 12 together, it equals 78. Remember, the Celtics outscored the Mavericks by 12 total points in the 78th NBA championship, which again began on the Celtics' 78th birthday. There is a relationship with 12 and 78. I wonder if they've even done that on purpose. I mean, there's a lot of coded number imagery in media and entertainment, but sometimes it could be just a coincidence. There is definitely a relationship with 12 and 78. 256, 2506. Might need to research that more. So, yeah. But, yeah, just, again, here, I want to show you baseball. Again, right after the Butler shooting in Pennsylvania, you have this all Philadelphia matchup. The A's versus the Phillies. Again, the Athletics began in Philadelphia, just like the Warriors did. But Butler goes off. Number 4 days after his birthday, when shooting is 44. Cancer equals 44, the astrological period we're in, and Cancer is the 44th sign. But 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 6 at-bats, 3 hits. Look at what they did in baseball, you guys. Look at what they did in baseball on the last day before the All-Star break. Okay. Yeah, no, it's Yankees and Orioles both on 58 wins. Baltimore 58. It's like Baltimore fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs right before Super Bowl 58, where Andy Reid stayed on 58 losses after the Chiefs became 5-8 in the wild card round. Red Sox hit their symbolic 53. Boston Red Sox 53. Remember, Super Bowl 53 perfectly aligned with Boston over LA in the World Series and championship. Brady was 41 that year, like Super Bowl's 41. The Red Sox won the World Series 4-1 with number 41 Chris Sale closing it out 99 days before the 99th NFL season was closed out when New England's 99. Again, we had all that seen in July, how Boston would beat LA in the World Series, perfectly synced with Boston beating LA in the Super Bowl in July. And we said it'd be in game 5 because of the 99-day spacing and Brady being 41. Last year, Mahomes gets his 41st playoff passing touchdown, winning the Super Bowl after getting his 41st road win in Baltimore to advance to the Super Bowl when Baltimore also equals 41 like Super Bowl. Remember, Key equals 41, and Nancy Pelosi's father was the 41st mayor of Baltimore, who had the same birthday as Francis Scott Key. And this year, the Key Bridge came down on Nancy's birthday as she turned 84, the year her father died at. And then we said that day that it was synced up with the Golden Gate Bridge. And then on Nancy Pelosi's husband's 84th birthday, the Golden Gate Bridge gets shut down in tribute to the Golden Gate in Israel. Because remember, they shut it down with the pro-Palestinian protesters who, a few years back, the Palestinians were had the Golden Gate entrance to Temple Mount closed off to them. But yeah, this Athletics Philly series, we had a big discussion about this before the game was the series again. And I said, I really do think the Athletics will win this series because no one will see it coming. And the numbers are there. The Phillies will get the 34th loss. Athletics is 34. And the Athletics will stay on 61 losses when the Phillies came into the series with 61 wins. Philadelphia equals 61 like church, like Christian, like Christmas, like 61 represents God and sacred geometry and the flower of life. Again, Jesus cross also equals 61. It's a special number. There's the Church of Philadelphia in Revelation. Notice the Phillies stayed on 37 home wins, the shooting number. And look at what the score was the day of the shooting. All the 115s on July 13th. Did you guys see the score of the Philadelphia A's game that day? Phillies won that one 11-5. And I went 2 for 3 in this series, but it was beautiful because the Athletics paid out $250 in game 1, and then in game 3 they paid out over 200. Game 2, the one they lost, was actually the game they had the least payout. They would have paid out 160, but again, I told you if you just bet them to win each game of this series and they win 2 out of 3, which is the narrative, you're gonna have a nice payout. Because if you don't know gambling, which say you bet 100 to game 1, you won 250, so you had $100. Now you have $350 because you won 250, you get your 100 back. If you bet 100 the next day, you would have lost it. So you're giving 100 back. You're still up because you won 250 the day before. If you bet the A's again to win 100, they paid like plus 220. You won 220. So you made about 470 on the series, gave 100 back. You made about 370. The reason it looked like the A's could have won on game 2 is because they would have become tied against each other 13-13 all time on the 13th when Philly's the home of the 13 stripes. When Philly just whooped up on the Dodgers fell to 14-6 versus the East, like Philadelphia's or the Flag's birthday is 14/6, just like Trump's got the same birthday. The woman who won the UFC fight in Colorado synced up with all this. She became 14-6. Again, she's from Milwaukee, where the GOP convention began today. Going with the whole Roosevelt thing. But yeah, even the all Philadelphia game, I'm calling it all Philly because the Athletics are from there, 11-5. Kamala was in Philadelphia that day, the day of the shooting, in Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's home state. Again, scripted sports, scripted politics, talking about it all the time. The 10 hits to 9 is also interesting because shooting is also 109. But I wonder if there's something about Colorado getting their 63rd loss that day. What do you think about that? Where the UFC event was, JFK in 63, Kennedy 33. They stayed on 33 wins. New York they were playing. 3-7 was the score, shooting. But here's the one I really wanted to pull up. The Rangers and the Astros. The day of the shooting, notice the Rangers stayed on, they got their 45th win and gave the Astros their 45th loss, right? Remember, this was the day of the shooting 45 days after JFK's birthday anniversary. So guess what happened yesterday? Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, it's because I didn't go to Sunday. That's why. I was like, this one's wrong. So yesterday was the last game of the series, and this looked like it made way too much sense that the Rangers would get the 46th win and the Astros would get the 46th loss 46 days after JFK's birthday anniversary. Again, he died at 46 in Dallas. The Rangers play pretty much in Dallas. He died in Texas. And we just saw what they did with the finals, with the Celtics coming in with 46 wins all time against the Mavs before a game was played in that series. The Nationals, the nation's capital, they stayed on 44 wins at the All-Star break. And where's the convention? Milwaukee, right? The Brewers keep the Nationals on 44 wins. Nationals get their 53rd loss. Milwaukee equals 53 like Pennsylvania. Again, you guys, Brewers got their 29th home win. Trump 29. Shooting 29 days after his birthday. The 55 thing goes with the whole Satan thing. Marilyn Manson being 55. Church of Satan. There might be something to the Cubs being on 47 wins. Trump number, remember they won the World Series, right? They broke the 108-year drought, like Major League equals 108, like 108 double stitches on a baseball, right before Trump won the election. And Trump hired a part of the Cubs administration for his cabinet. Always San Francisco and 50. San Francisco loves 50. Twins also equals 50. Of course, they're going to stay on 50 losses by the end of the series. Yeah, there might be more to think about with some of these other games too, but the real obvious thing was Butler. Oh, by the way, Pittsburgh. I mean, look at you guys, look at I almost didn't even say it. Look at Pittsburgh's record. Pittsburgh is right next to where Butler is. Remember, the man who Butler, the town is named after, he died at 48. The Pirates became 48-48 going into the All-Star break. And again, just Donald Trump, 48, like Hollywood. Also like Cleveland, the last split-term president. Like Wall equals 48, Mr. Wall. The movie The Wall came out on the 48th day of the year, right after Trump became president-elect. Matt Damon's in it. And then LeBron had the hit show The Wall, playing for Cleveland at the time where he had his convention. Cleveland, you see what I mean? Cleveland's also 165, like Trump born on the 165th day of the year. Cleveland's also 78, like how old Trump is right now. So, yeah, just, I mean, where's anyone's argument? I mean, how can we show this for all these years, how it's all scripted together? It's just so obvious. They're slapping you in the face with it. This guy who's not a home run hitter hits 3 bombs the day after the shooting in Pennsylvania. 4 days after his birthday when he's number 4, when he's got the perfect shooting birthday. He's got the, again, go back and see what I was saying about July 10th and the George Clooney news. George Clooney, who was Batman, who's got a butler. Donald Trump, who says he's Batman. Here, I just got to show this to you guys. Gunnar Henderson, who's the favorite for the home run derby. Doesn't mean he's going to win tonight, but he plays for Baltimore near the nation's capital. He's got the highest odds to win the derby tonight. Look at this all about Gunnar Henderson. Okay, he wears number 2, right? Pennsylvania's the second state. We just had 2 people dead, the shooter and somebody in the audience, so we're told. It's a Second Amendment issue. Gunnar Henderson is from Alabama, where George Wallace was the 45th governor who was shot in 72. Okay? Remember, Baltimore Orioles have had all kinds of weird stuff going on this year. Their owner died on the anniversary of the Key Bridge opening, and then 3 days later, the Key Bridge collapsed. There's a lot more to say about all that. If you missed my work from when the bridge collapsed, again, the whole media should have, if we had a real news media, they would have been sharing our research about why it mattered that the bridge collapsed on the 86th day of the year. Key Bridge equals 86 weeks after Nancy Pelosi was in Singapore shaking hands with their leader when a Singaporean ship took down the bridge at 1:28 in the morning, 128 days from Francis Scott Key's birthday, but also 128 days from Biden's, when bridge collapse equals 128, like Fern Hollow, like the Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed in Pittsburgh when Joe Biden was in town to talk infrastructure. We were talking then about how that signaled the end of the Queen and how she wouldn't make it past age 96. Anyway, Gunnar Henderson, he made his MLB debut 63 days after his birthday. Here, just so you can see this yourself. If you go to Baseball Reference, if you pull up that website and just type in Gunnar, I mean, what a name, right? I'm always talking about these Manchurians. Gunnar. If I forgot to mention, the home run derby is in Dallas, where JFK got shot, right? So Gunnar, up in Baltimore, there to the nation's capital, made his debut August 31st at age 21, 63 days after his birthday. I mean, they just went 63 crazy in the finals. But his full name, Gunnar Randall Henderson, equals 115 and 101 like assassin. Like how these numbers are all over what just happened with Trump. Gunnar Henderson, drop the middle name, is 78. Like how old Trump is, like how Butler equals 78, like Kennedy, like the 78th NBA finals, which was just down right next to where the World Series is. Remember last year I was outside the Mariners Stadium pointing out how the NL hadn't won for 11 years and the game was on the 11th and the AL was on 47 wins and the AL was on 47 the AL was on 47 wins, which they stayed on up in Seattle, the 47th parallel. Funny enough, Arlington's also 47. But look at this, Gunnar Henderson. You just got to see it with your own eyes. His career home runs right now, look how many he has, you guys. Gunnar Henderson has 60 career home runs with the 60th election and all the 60 stuff. Again, he's from Alabama where George Wallace is, who got shot. George Wallace equals 60 like Donald Trump. 60 days from the George Wallace assassination anniversary, this. I mean, can you get more Manchurian? He got the same birthday as that Rose girl who just won the UFC event the day of the shooting, June 29th. But he's got 95 games under his belt. Baltimore equals 95. Remember, the Baltimore opens up the season against Kansas City in the NFL on September 5th, 9-5, in case he has a chance to go 9-5 versus Baltimore. The last home run derby that was in, again, he's got 95 games played for the year, is what I'm trying to tell you. 95 games for the year. The last home run derby in this stadium was in 95. Remember last year, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won the home run derby in Seattle, where the last father-son tandem played. And now you got the latest father-son tandem with LeBron and his son. But last year, Vlad Guerrero had 117 career home runs coming into the Derby. The home runs they get tonight in the Derby don't count for their stats. These only count for their games they played in. But he came in with 117, like Toronto equals 117, like Major League Baseball, like how the All-Star game last year was on 11-7, the 11th of July. Gunnar Henderson's also on 63 RBIs, I noticed. Crazy, 108 hits, like Dealey Plaza's 108. 78 runs. Man, his whole stat line is crazy. They couldn't have scripted it any better. You know, they say it all the time. Yeah, he also was on 28 home runs for the year. The shooting was on 28. Date numerology in Texas is the 28th state in order of statehood. So just how weird is that about the guy most favored in this stadium where JFK got smoked, got called up 63 days after his birthday, comes in as the favorite this year, emerged big on the scene in recent times, got a name like Gunner. Remember, Pistol Pete's son died during the NBA Finals, and Pistol Pete himself died 46 days after Biden's birthday in Biden's 46th year of life, meaning Biden was 45 at the time, approaching his 46th birthday. Dallas got there, gave the Jason Tatum his 45th career playoff loss on number 45's birthday this year, his 78th. And again, you guys, just numbers in 40. 40 being everywhere. The Super Bowl this year will be on the 40th day of the year, or starting next year, February 9th, 2025. Jacoby Jones from New Orleans, dead at 40. Again, a day after Richard Simmons, who's from New Orleans. I say this every year. You got to watch when the Super Bowl approaches in cities, how you'll see celebrities connected to it. And we've literally been to New Orleans. I was there in 2020. I might have to go down to New Orleans to the LSU campus again to educate about this. But we were there in 2020 to talk about all of the deaths for that college football championship for Joe Burrow in tribute to Billy Cannon, who did the exact same thing, won the Heisman and beat Clemson in New Orleans. And then Joe Burrow goes to the NFL and plays all four of Billy Cannon's teams in the playoffs. Billy Cannon only played for 4 teams in the NFL. Joe Burrow faced them all in the playoffs. Rams is who drafted Billy Cannon. That was the Super Bowl. And then the Raiders, Chiefs, and the Titans, except for the Titans were the Oilers in Billy Cannon's day. They were the Houston Oilers. Now it's the Houston Texans, like the Dallas Texans that became the Kansas City Chiefs. But again, he wore number 12. He was in the last Super Bowl 12 years ago. He's the guy who pretty much put the game away. He had the big 56-yard touchdown reception at the end of the first half, and then he ran back the opening kick to put the Ravens up 28-6 over the 49ers. But number 12, dead 12 years after the Super Bowl, the last one in New Orleans native, dead at 40 for unknown reasons when the Super Bowl's on the 40th day of the year while the market securely goes up above 40,000 today. as J.D. Vance just before he turns 40, as Trump's trying to do what Reagan did 40 years ago when United States is 40 like U.S. It's sick, man. He's dead on 14/7 like Trump's wife. Freemason equals 147 like conspiracy. Before they adjusted the league schedule, it used to always end 147 days after it began from the first Sunday to Super Bowl Sunday. It's different now with the extended schedule. But remember American football, credited to the Freemason Walter Camp. Born in 84 in New Orleans. Born July 11th, dead 3 days after his birthday. Could also say the 4th day of his age. Dead on the day, leaving 170 days left in the year. Was the 73rd pick of the draft when sacrifice equals 73 and 170. Anyone who'd say this knowledge is fake is a fool. This stuff's going on every day. Again, if you missed the Diddy's mother thing, again, just 54, that big Jesuit number. He's 54 years old. His mom hospitalized on the 251st day of his age on 7/11, the 54th prime. Jesuit Order 54, John Carroll 54, Joe Montana 54, won his 4th Super Bowl in New Orleans, which equals 54. Chance the Niners are there and fall to 5-4 in Super Bowls. They won their first 5, were 5-0, could very well fall to 5-4. Mahomes beat him in Super Bowl 54. Then he beat him in Super Bowl 58, the 54th Super Bowl of the modern era, while Montana was 67, the 19th prime, becoming the first team to go back-to-back in 19 years, taking the game to overtime 19-19 as McCole Hardman scores his 19th career touchdown. When I did a live broadcast of the Super Bowl, and the first thing I pointed out right when we started is number 19 was coming out of the tunnel for the Niners. Oh my God, what's number 19 for the Niners? I can't think of his damn name right now, but he came out 19 minutes after the hour and we said, there's the number of the game. Chiefs trying to be first team to go back-to-back in 19 years when Montana wore 19 for the Chiefs, and he's 67 years old right now, the 19th prime. Again, all this stuff, you guys, you learn the code, you see through all of it. Like, you become the closest thing to the Illuminati. No, everyone else is just like gone, but you got the Illuminati code. Even though you're on the outside looking in, you can finally see through it. It's just like They Live. And don't forget, They Live, Roddy Piper. That movie released 201 days after his birthday, but again, big number of the Jesuits. But then he tweeted on September 27th, the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome, that the movie was a documentary. And then he ends up dying not long after on Ignatius Loyola's death anniversary, the founder of the Jesuits. Same day they did Bill Russell dirty. So, yeah, I realized what time it is, man. I went way longer than I meant to. Thank you, Roll With Me. Roll With Me. I appreciate that. You're right, the Trump Vance ticket. Here, look at the gematria Trump Vance, you guys. The ticket, Trump Vance. That's what it's going to say right on the bumper stickers, on the yard signs, Trump Vance. 133. Again, President, White House, government. His J.D. Vance's actual full name, 133. The ongoing, we talked about this earlier, but again, big presidential number goes with Revelation 13:3 about the wound to the head, the beast. Beast got that 47 like Trump, like Ohio. 43, which goes with the assassination thing. 137, which goes with the date of the assassination. 56, like 56 years since 68, the year of assassinations, the year of so many agendas. Fentanyl, COVID, they all go back to 1968. World Trade Center construction, 9/11, 56 years ago. First black woman in the Senate, 56 years ago. She went to Columbia like Obama, who won the 56th election. Again, Washington, D.C. equals 137 and 56. Big-time numbers. Here, just to pull up that one other thing I predicted, this old post on my old site. Snoop Dogg, Trump, 137. Oh, shit. Hold on. I don't know why it deletes the whole phrase. This right here, again, this is from Pi Day, March 14, 2017. Snoop Dogg had the music video out where he shoots Trump. It was called Lavender, which equals 45. Again, just nonstop rituals with 45 and Trump. Lavender, shade of purple. Bill and Hillary conceded in purple. Trump's convention in 2016 was synced with the Queen. Royalty wears purple. Trump came out 88 days after the Queen's birthday to Queen, we are the champions. But this is the big one right here. Well, Ronald Klump's got the 47, like President Authority, Republican White House, Government Trump. Ronald Klump's also got the 137, like White House, again, 33rd prime. But isn't it funny that he again, the Trump character gets shot in this, and now all these years later on 13-7. Like we've been saying, they script this stuff out way in advance. They're redundant with their numbers, their patterns. You look into Snoop Dogg, his whole murder trial. Murder was the case. It was all the Jesuit numbers, 56. Snoop Dogg. I don't know if he's in the Church of Satan, but he did the Murder Was the Case music video where he sells his soul to Satan. Bang. Wake up time. Again, every Christian, which is a lot of people, a lot of Christians for Trump, you guys really need to wake the hell up, literally. You've been led astray by literally an agent of evil. Let's not forget that evil equals 48 like Donald Trump. And the word tree equals 48, not that trees are evil, but the evil half of Kabbalah is known as the clip-off, and the physical model for Kabbalah is the tree of life, which is mentioned in Genesis 3:2 and knowing good and evil. Again, these things going down while Yale's 322 years old. But yeah, I went overtime, and I do need to I need to get dinner going here. Sweet Lady's going to walk in the door and be like, why ain't food ready? I'm starving. It's me plus another person. So yeah, thank you again. Roll with me. Daniel 7:8. Hold on. We got to look that up real quick before we get out of here. He said, look up Daniel 7:8. All the 78 business. Again, they do use the Bible as the playbook. This is Daniel 7 and 8, but hold on. We want Daniel 7:8. While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them. And 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being and a mouth that spoke boastfully. That is interesting in light of Trump. Trump the bragger, again, the highest tenet of Satanism, self-worship. Alvin Bragg takes down Trump by the numbers before Trump reemerges, deceiving the world after the head wound. Yeah. Appreciate it. Great observation. Hey, my dream, I got a dream too. My dream is the support comes back from this work and I could say, look, Sweet Lady, they want me out there again. You guys, there has to be way more support for this work so we can do way bigger things with it. Again, we need a full-time Gematria Effect News crew. I don't understand why more people don't come across this, don't see that this is the most important shit on the web in terms of seeing through the cabal. Of course, there's more to know in life, like how to take care of yourself and be a decent person and happy. But this cabal that rules over us and lies to us, it needs to be defeated. And this is the knowledge to figure out what is what and stop saying they all the time. They. We're not talking about they over here. We're talking about the Jesuits. We're calling out things before they happen. We're not lost like almost everyone else is. We need more people to show support. And not Richard Quinn. Richard Quinn, you don't need to be donating anything. Thank you, though, Richard. But Richard Quinn, you guys, is a man who has a major health battle, who's been out pounding pavement with us from Oklahoma City to New York, carrying around a dialysis machine. He's already gone through enough hardship. I don't expect the Richard Quinns of this world to support the work. I expect the people who got some extra spending money and see how dedicated yours truly is over here, being here for almost 11 years straight every single day, dropping nothing but facts, and the case just builds more clearly. We need some people to roll out and help us achieve the dream. We need Team Gematria on the streets of America. We need the funding to fly to where this shit happens so we can get out there and speak like we do and wake up the world to what's up. We should be at every Trump convention funded. They're waking up those crowds every time. We should have been in Butler, PA, doing this live in real time like we practically could have, because every time this shit happens, we already have a whole plethora of information to prove exactly what went down. You know, I mean, we were talking about what could happen just like this the day before it happened, how it would have made so much sense, and then it did happen. You know, we've been explaining this kill date since forever. Same pattern since forever. Again, thank you to the one person earlier who bought my book online. I said a great way to support the work would be to buy the ebook. For all you guys who've supported my work in the past, I get it. Maybe I'm only reaching my same audience. But thank you to the one new person who got a copy of Letters and Numbers off the website, GematriaEffect.news. Again, it's an instantaneous way to support the work. It's $5 per ebook, $10 total. It's nearly the green book's nearly 800 pages. The black and red book's about 450 pages. You got about 1,200 pages of content and just a bunch of undeniable information that's only become more true since I wrote it. It's like aged beautiful wine. By the way, if you want to download these books for free, just search Zachary K. Hubbard books free. You'll find those links too. You can get both of these books totally for free. But if you want to support the work, my website, GematriaEffect.news, the ebooks section. Thank you. And not bad. We raised $10 on the stream. And as I say that, Lloyd Black comes in with another 10. All of a sudden, we've raised 20. Thank you, Lloyd Black. $10 an hour will probably get to the funding goal of Team Gematria and the bus and the news station. We'll get there as long as we can all live to about age 500. But so we got to take care of ourselves. Anyway, seriously, though, thank you to the people who did support the work. Thank you to everyone who does support on Patreon, who still remains. And until next time, Truth Seeker, please hit that like and share also on the way out if you haven't already. Thank you. Till next time.